There we go. So, managing your roster. At any point in time, you can run this command, and it will give you a list of commands that you can run in the game, right? So, as a captain, at this point, these team functions and in-game Archon functions are the ones, as well as the match recording functions are the ones that you're going to be after. Each one has the command itself, tells you what it does, and then an example of how to use it. So pay attention to these. We'll go over them right now, but if you ever forget, you don't have to watch this video to do that. You can run this chat, this command, and all that stuff is there, right? So, if you ever want to add a player, it's pretty straightforward. Add player. You're going to have to put the name of your team, and it is case sensitive. So in my case, my team is Legion. That's what I would put. If at any point in time, you have multiple words, so if you're the Outlaws, right, you're going to have to put it just like that. You don't need any quotes or anything like that for this case. That's why none of them, you don't see any quotes or anything here. You'll just put it just like that, and then the name of the player, and then if you hit enter, it will add them, or it will give you an error. If they are on another team, you obviously can't add them to your team. So that's pretty much, if they're already on your team, it will tell you if they're already on your team. If they're not registered, it will also tell you if they're not registered. So pay attention to the message you get back. Just because you get back a message doesn't necessarily mean that it works. It just means that there is something for you to read. It might be successful, it might not be. Removing a player is exactly the same, except it's remove player, right? And then your name, and then the player name. Obviously, the person has to be on your team for you to be able to remove them. These commands are limited to captains and co-captains. They are not limited to team. So at this point in time, at the recording of this video, there is no way for me to denote that you are the captain of XYZ team. So technically, you can run these commands against other teams. You can remove players from other teams. If I catch you doing that, I will remove your ability to manage your team. So please do not manage anyone else's team but your own. If there's a player that you need that has agreed to come to your team that's still on another team, you need to get with that captain and you need to have them remove them from their roster. If they're not responsive, contact somebody in league management, and then we will remove them from the team. But do not manage anyone else's roster. Don't remove anybody. Don't add anybody to anybody's roster but your own. That's pretty much the only thing that you need to do to manage your roster. It's pretty much just those two commands. As far as rules go, you can only have 10 people on your roster at the time, again, of recording this, because rules can change. That's pretty much it. Is there anybody who has any questions on managing the roster? You can just send me a DM and I will unmute you. You can just click my name and or maybe you can't do it from here. I don't know. I'm going to assume not. This is pretty straightforward. All right, scheduling matches, right? So as the captain or co-captain, you're required to schedule any matches that are scheduled for your team. The schedule for the entire season is posted at the beginning of the season, so you can schedule these matches at any point in time. You cannot play more than your weekly match that's scheduled unless it's a challenge. So you can't schedule week 2, 3, and 4, all at once and then play them all in one week. You have to play them on the week that they are scheduled for. To do that, really all you got to do is reach out to the other captain. You can do that over a DM. You can use the captain's chat. Pretty much any way that you want to. You can contact them to set that up. Really, you can see who's the captain of each team pretty easily. If you go into the captain's chat, everybody is going to be on the side here. So the only people that are in here are moderators, league developers, managers, and captains. So you can see them pretty much easily who is on each team. If they're offline, it's pretty simple to just kind of not do what I did. Just to click it, see there's the captain. You can see who the captain is of each team. Dave is in here also, he's community manager. So this is just an easy way to figure out who's the captain. You can always ask, but it's just easier if you kind of just look at it. The same thing happens on the phone. It's just on the right hand side. So the matches can be played at any time during the week. The week is Tuesday to Monday. So at any point in time from a Tuesday to a Monday, you can play that week's game. I would recommend that that you guys try and be conscientious when you're scheduling matches. Everybody's got a lot of different time zones. Generally, if you're an easy person to work with, the other team captain will generally work with you. I really personally haven't had too much of a problem scheduling matches, but I mean we'll kind of get into that little more into recruiting when we get there. But that's pretty much it for scheduling matches themselves. So the second thing that we want to do with matches is confirming a match time, right? Which is what you're going to see in these match recording functions with match time, challenge time, or or even scrim time. It's a pretty simple process to go through. If you want to play an official match, it does need to be scheduled. So one of those ways to do that is to type in match time, and it will start to give you some instructions, right? So team 1 is going to be Legion. In this case, we'll say we're playing against Avengers because it's easy for me to type. It's going to ask you what date, right? So let's say it's going to be tomorrow. So it's 1/17/2022. Then it's going to give you a time. Avengers is an EU team, so I know I'm probably going to have to play them at like 3 o'clock p.m. It's important, do not put the time zone here. It doesn't ask you to put the time zone for a reason, and that reason is it's going to ask you here. I know a lot of people work off a lot of different time zones, so just make sure that if we say it's 3 p.m. that we specify that whatever time zone that we're talking about. Then it's going to ask you to pick a league server. We have a whole bunch of different league servers that are in some different geolocations that really kind of affect things like ping and other really just ping, but some of it can be some of it could be a lot worse for the other team. So the way that we generally handle it is that whatever map that you pick, you get to pick the server that it's played on, and vice versa for the other team. So if they pick a map, they're going to pick it. So sometimes with US and EU teams, you'll see 2 servers being picked. One will be played on PML1, the other one will be played on PML2, which is in Amsterdam. So if you guys are both US and you just agree on one, you just have to put 1, and we're going to pick PML1. It's going to come up here and it's going to say, look, this is an official match. It's not a scrim or a challenge. When is it? Here's the time. That's the server. If the answer is yes, we're going to type yes, and then it's going to end. It'll say match successfully created, and it'll show up in the official match times. This is extremely useful because if you are scheduling a match, you're going to want to make sure that you don't pick a server that someone else has already confirmed, right? So if another team wants to go and they want to use PML1 at 3 o'clock, they're not going to be able to, right? They're not going to be able to use it at 3:30. They could use it at 4 potentially, but that's cutting it close. So you want to make sure that you take a look in the confirmed times to make sure that the server that you are trying to schedule for isn't already taken up. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this because we don't need it. We're not actually playing Avengers at 3 p.m. The next portion is what to do when it is 3 p.m. tomorrow and it's time to play the match. So we said that we were going to go into PML1. Really what you want to make sure to do is you check the PML1 feed, make sure that nobody's in PML1 when you're trying to do whatever it is you're trying to do, that you're not going to affect somebody's game that maybe forgot to put it in or something like that. Again, really the whole point of all this is to be respectful. We've got a lot of teams, we've got a lot of captains. You don't want to accidentally switch somebody's map or reset somebody's game just because they forgot to put it in the in the confirmed times. Let somebody from let a moderator or somebody from management handle that. Don't just go ahead and swap their map. Again, actually, if we take a look at the commands, these are the in-game Archon functions that you're going to need. You're going to need to switch the map to whatever map you guys have picked. Then you're going to need to set up the match. Now, in this Discord, we have a functionality that will allow us to automatically swap the team members to the correct size that were picked, even if the teams are full. I'm sure you guys have seen in public lobbies, if the teams are full, you can't switch teams. It just doesn't let you. So this kind of circumvents that and allows us to swap the teams to the correct sides. Nobody has to leave and come back or do any of that kind of stuff. So what it'll do is it will swap all the teams, and then 10 to 20 seconds later, it depends on, we're still trying to play with it so we get rid of some of that zero glitch stuff. It will automatically restart the match for you, so it'll reset the money, reset the score, and reset the match so that way you can play it. What that will also do is that will kind of tell our database to start paying attention to the stats. It'll also tell the feed to start running. So this is an incredibly important command. Cannot play a league match, a challenge match, or a league match without running this command. If you take a look, the other portion is that all the players must be on the team roster for this to work, right? So you shouldn't be playing a official game with members that are not on your roster. So everyone should be there. If someone's name is incorrect, let's say that they typed their in-game name wrong, it's not going to switch them. The bot's not going to know who to change over because the bot's looking for one thing, their in-game name is another. So what may happen is you might have 4 people on one side and 6 people on another. There's a couple of ways to handle that. You can just have that person switch over before the game starts. It's relatively simple. Or you can have them go and re-register, restart the game, go through all that. Generally, teams don't opt to do that, but that's what happens. That's why that happens, is somebody's not registered properly. So the order for this is match setup. If you notice, there's some quotes around here. We didn't need them before, but this is a little bit different portion of the bot, and we're going to need quotes if you have multiple words in your name. So if we use the same teams here, we've got match setup. We'll say we'll say Legion. We don't need quotes because it's not 2, but then we say the Outlaws. Right, that's what that's going to have to look like, and then we'll say PML1. Right, now what that's going to do is it's going to swap Legion to the CT team. It's going to swap the Outlaws to the T team on PML1. And then it's going to reset 10 seconds later to start an official match. Should be pretty straightforward. Now, I kind of skipped around just because this is a little bit more complicated than switching the map. Switching the map is relatively simple. It's literally just switch map, the name of the map, which we'll be publishing a list of the actual map name that you'll use. It's already in the rules for last season, but we may be switching up the maps a little bit. So you'll just use the name of the map that you find in the rules. The game mode is always going to be S&D, and you're going to still put that same server. And that should run the match. There really isn't anything else that you need to do except play. Once you're done playing, it will put that game, it will put you back into a lobby, or it depends on how the server's set up, it might put you into some random map or something. It doesn't really matter, because it's best out of 3, you'll just switch the map again whenever all the players are ready and all 10 are in, do the match setup, and you're good to go. All right. I think that should be it to get the starting and running. Submitting match scores is very similar to, you want to do all this stuff in team bot commands, by the way, just so that way it keeps things clean. So similar to the match time, so instead of match time, you'll put match score. It will ask you the name of team 1, we'll say Legion. The name of team 2, we'll say Avengers. What was the first map? Depends on what you played, right? So we'll say we played Dust 2. It's going to ask you the score. We'll say it was 10-5. Who won map 1? Obviously Legion. What was the second map? We'll say it was Inferno. What was the score on map 2? We'll say it was 10-5. And it was Legion again. And now it's going to ask you what the third map was. And again, generally matches are best of 3. So the bot doesn't really know who won or anything like that. It's just collecting data. So if there is a third map, you would just type the name of the map, and then it would go through the score, who won, and all of that. If there wasn't a third map, you just type the word none. And then it's going to pop this up. It's extremely important to type the name of each team properly, because if you don't do that, this isn't going to pop up. So as long as you see the logo, as long as all of this is correct, you'll put yes. And then similarly to the scheduling thing, it'll tell you that the process has ended, that it's submitted, and then you can go into match scores and you can see what has been posted. It'll show you it was an official match, not a challenge or anything like that. And then you're done. The match is over, right? You won, hopefully. The same thing goes for challenges, and we'll go over challenges in a little bit. But instead of match time or match score, it'll be challenge time or challenge score. They're pretty much identical. The verbiage in some of it is a little bit different, just because you have a limited amount of challenges and it asks who was the person who challenged. But aside from that, they're identical. All right.
Just checking. Are you gonna release a list of all team names or aliases?
They're all.
Aliases?
Yeah. Well, the map aliases will all be in the rules, just like they're. So last season they're all in there. The ones that you're going to want to put. The team ones are all in the team. Where is it here? All in the teams, team rosters. So however it's spelled on the team roster, that's exactly what you're going to want to put in there, like to the T, right? So like rect, it's all caps, just like that. So that's pretty much everything that you need. There is like an alias list that you can pull up from the bot, but most likely that will go away soon. So the best thing to look at is just the roster list. You always want to make sure as a captain too that you take a look at the roster list. I mean, not to say that anybody's going to do any of this kind of stuff, but it's kind of incumbent on the team captains to make sure that everyone is following the rules, your team and the other team. So you always want to make sure that you kind of have some sort of gist of who is on the team roster, so that way when you go into a game, there isn't somebody that you've never seen before. because you want to make sure you call that out. Make sure you let the other captain know, hey, you got somebody on your team that's not on your roster. You can't do that. That's not something that we want to find out after the fact. That causes a bunch of problems. It's just better if everybody talks about it straight away. And that's actually one of the part of the important rules here. One of the important rules is you can't play with anybody who's not on your roster. You've got 10 spots. Use them wisely. We don't have a ringer system as of recording this video. There may be some ringer stuff, and it will be clearly pointed out, and we'll have probably a whole lot of rules around it, but for right now there is no ringer system. Who's on your roster is who gets to play. Who is in that game, that game at the time, that map at the time, once you run that start command, that is who you are going to play with. There is no switching people out in the middle of a map. If someone is playing poorly, you cannot switch them out. If they have to leave, you cannot switch them out. If their battery dies, you cannot switch them out. The only time that you could potentially play with a different set on that map is if for some reason the map crashes. Then the map is considered dead. You restart the map, you can bring in whoever you want from your roster. But once the map is running, you cannot switch any players out. You cannot use the 50 cal. That is banned in league play. Let's see, what are the other important rules to remember when you're playing? Obviously, no glitches, exploits, things like that. If you have a question on what might be an exploit before you do it, please reach out to league management and we will let you know prior to you attempting to use it. If there's a spot on a map that you think is really great but might be weird, let us know. We'll make a call on it. We'll probably reach out to the map makers and say, hey, did you mean for people to be able to do this? And we'll make a call on it for then. I would not use anything like that until you got word from league management, because it can cause a lot of problems mid-game if the other team thinks that you've done something that may be questionable, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. I think that's pretty much it for important rules. I mean, you guys know how to play S&D. That's pretty much the rules. If somebody, another reason to not bring a person in who didn't start the map is team killing. If somebody gets banned in the map for TKing too many times, you cannot switch them out. You have to play a 4v5. So please, please, please be careful in team killing before the game starts. I would recommend that you do 0. I believe it's 3 times you can team kill before you get kicked out of the server. So I would do none. So that's pretty much some extremely technical stuff. It doesn't really have much to do with how to play the game or anything like that. This is really just logistics of how to run the games. All right, this this list is your friend. That will basically give you everything that you need. So just some tips, and again, this is mainly for new teams, new captains, people like that who may be new to being captain, or just kind of need some advice of how to manage your teams. Let me actually take a look here and see if I can find this in the captain's chat here. I believe I pinned it. Here it is. So getting your team organized is probably one of the hardest parts of being a captain. People have all different schedules. People have things come up in their lives. People may not want to play. A whole bunch of reasons. You may not have a full 10 roster. This is a tool that I built that's extremely simple. And basically what it is it's just kind of a grid, and you put your players at the top here, and you find a round when people are going to play. Obviously these times are the ones that I picked for my team. Generally we're not going to play any time outside of on a Monday, 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. it's just not a time that I think that we're going to get people together. So if you want to add every single hour of every single day to this, like, this is totally up to you. But weekdays 4 to 11 is generally the sweet spot for my team. On Saturdays, it's opened up a little bit. We've got it from 12 to 11 on Saturdays and Sundays. But each player, you can share this document with them, and they can go through and just kind of put an X on when they're available. You can do it per week. Sometimes people's schedule changes. You can just say keep it open times, and as people want to edit it, they can. But what this allows you to do is kind of go through, and anywhere where there's 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that you can play a game there, right? Now, I think that that's a little dangerous. I don't like having exactly 5 people to play a game, because people's lives happen and things happen. I try to get in a little wiggle room in there, and if there's a time where more people are able to play, where I can get 6 or 7. Looks like Tuesday at 5 o'clock is a good time for us. That's what I'm going to suggest, and generally I'll suggest a couple of different times for the other captain that I have to schedule with. That does work for us, because usually if you just have one time, unless it's like, again, on a midday on a weekend, chances are another captain's not really going to have time. They're going to just say yes or no, and there's not going to be much that comes out of it. So having a couple of different times available is extremely beneficial. But this is how the very first part is, knowing when your players are available. So if you can keep up on your players to keep this as up to date as possible, it's a super simple way to do it. A lot of captains do a lot of different things. Again, if you don't want to use this, if you have a different method of doing it, use that method. Don't have to do this at all. This was available in the pinned messages in the captain's chat. The other thing is organizing them for the game itself, letting them know. If you don't have a Discord, which hopefully most of the teams here do, I would recommend that you create one. You want to create a Discord, and then have a whole a special channel for just your team members, and you can put confirmed times, when you're going to practice, when people can do scrims, and then basically lineups to tell people, hey, you're in the lineup here. So ping them, so that way they can see themselves and say, okay, I'm going to play this map, and I know I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. Whatever information that you can give your team is going to help them to be organized. You can do everything via team announcements. That's totally fine, but the more information, the better. The more you can allow people to react on things is kind of what you're going to want. People have all different types of ways of organizing their team. The captain's chat is a good place to ask for advice. You can hit me up, probably any of the league managers. I think at this point, almost all of us are captains, and we can kind of point you in a direction of some way to help organize and get the most players, preferably 5, that you can to these games, because more than likely you're not going to win a 4v5, especially now that everything's a little bit more even. So you want to make sure you get 5 to every single game. You can't play with 3, and you'll be forced to forfeit. So organization for your teams is probably the most important thing you're going to have to do. Any questions on that? It looks like we don't have too many people here anyway, but practicing. You don't have to practice, obviously. You can go into games without practicing. You don't have to have strategies. You don't have to do any of this. But a lot of captains have asked me, how do you guys practice? What do you do? And really the best thing to do is to, practice in very small, short bursts, right? Practice a little bit. Have everybody get on 30 minutes before a game and go over some strategies, warm up a little bit. You can definitely try to have 10 people show up to a practice, but more than likely a bunch of people are going to bail, and then they're not going to get any practice in, or it's very hard to manage 10 people in a practice. So unless you're a extremely strong-willed captain, it's probably going to be pretty difficult to organize 10 people on whatever it is that you're trying to practice. And some things that you can practice are, good spots to throw grenades, good angles to hold, where people are going to be good, where you can get strengths and weaknesses on different sides of the map. But I mean, you can do a lot with 45 to 30 minutes right before the match, and then the plan is fresh in everybody's mind, and then they're going to remember it because they're going to do it within the game. If you want to schedule a big practice with everybody at a certain date, you can always go ahead and refer back to this open times sheet. You don't just have to use this for games, you can use this for practices as well. Team morale is a huge part of being a captain. It's kind of up to you to keep the team together, because without a team you can't play games. So if everybody gets busted up over a loss, or the people feel like, hey, my team doesn't practice, or hey, my team never plays together, or anything like that, you want to do whatever you can to kind of alleviate that. Again, it's one of those things, if you have any specifics that you want to go over, pretty much contact anybody in league management and we can kind of help you through that. We have a vested interest in the teams staying together and their morale staying up, because without the teams, there is no league. So whatever we can do to help, we're going to do. But it's probably a good idea to try and make some adjustments if you guys come off of a tough loss, right? I think a lot of team members want to see something happening if you lose, right? What is it? What are you going to fix? What are you going to do differently next time? Those are the types of things that you want to make sure that you address with your team. And this is a team game. Even if you have somebody who plays poorly in a game, it's up to the rest of the team to kind of pick them up and carry them. So it's a 5-person loss. It's never a 1-person loss. So I would definitely keep things in that direction. Recruiting. Recruiting is kind of a however you want to do it type thing. Depends on what kind of team you want to have. Some teams want to have the best shooters possible. Some teams want to play with their friends and coworkers. Some teams just want to have a team to play league games, and any one of those is fine. The best way to kind of start with recruiting is going to be in the recruitment center. You just basically post up that you're looking for players. It looks like a lot of people are doing that. But I will tell you that, as we get more teams, this recruitment center is going to become more saturated. So you're probably going to need to get a little more creative. If you're a captain and you're not playing pickups, you should. There's a ton of good players that are not on teams that play in these pickups, and you can check the feed at any point in time and see how people are playing. Reach out to them. Say, hey, we have a spot. This is what this is how we play. This is what we can do. Kind of offering people playtime is a good way to get people recruited. A lot of times, a lot of new players are coming in looking for the best team, looking for the most active team, and what they don't realize is that even though there's 10 players on a team, this is a 5v5 game, and a new player coming in maybe sitting on the bench a lot. If you're a team that doesn't have a whole lot of people on their roster yet, that's a good thing to offer. Hey, you're going to be able to play a lot of games. It's going to be really good. We get together, we play pickup games, however you want to do it. But I mean, if me as a captain, I wouldn't rely on a single post in the recruitment center to kind of bring people in to my team. So, again, how do you recruit better? If you have some specifics, let me or any other league manager know. We can help you out. What we got in here? Nobody. Okay, cool. Okay, so league scoring. Let me see. Do I still have a scoreboard up here? don't have a scoreboard anymore. Let me see if I can find one. Season 1. Okay. So league scoring. It may seem complicated. It isn't too complicated. There is some math behind it. For most people, I would just say go out there and play your best, and you'll get as much score as you possibly can. But there is a thing that is league points, and that is what the leaderboard is ordered by. You'll see a couple other numbers here, like your match record, your challenge record, your ELO, and your league points. You get league points two ways. One is a flat number of points that you will get for winning the game. So winning the best 2 out of 3 will net you a flat amount of points. There is also an opportunity for bonus points, and what those are is your team performing better than expected. And expected is based on your ELO, which we'll go over in a second. So, if let's say, this team, Deathwish here was 1375, Legion here is 1375. Because they are equal, the expectation is that both of us will win 50% of the total rounds that are played. Now, obviously, that can't happen. Somebody's going to have to win. So the person who performs better will get bonus points. Now, in this example, we're even, right? But let's say that Deathwish played against Contingency. They played, and Deathwish won only by a little bit. Because there is a large gap in ELO, and the formula for this is has been posted. It will be in the rules, so you can work this out yourself. Because there's such a large gap in ELO, the expectation is that Contingency is not going to do that great, right? But because the game was narrow, Deathwish gets their flat points for winning the game. Contingency does not get those flat points, but they get a much larger bonus because they did much better than expected. So it's important that when you win games, you go out there and you play as best as you can. You don't want to go, and even if it's a game you think that you're going to win handedly, you don't want to go out there and not win it handedly, because the other team is going to be trying to get those bonus points if they're a lower ELO. So you need to make sure that you hang on to those bonus points. Again, the formula for that, how many points you're going to get for things, all of that is in the rules, or probably will be in more detail in the rules shortly as well. ELO is an interesting concept because it's all based around math. But basically what this is it's not a score. It is merely a measurement of skill level. So the league is not scored by ELO. It is ordered by league points, but ELO is a good indicator of skill level. And teams will trade ELO based on their performance. So again, if we'd use the same scenarios before, where Deathwish plays Contingency, Deathwish should have a very decisive win. If they win, but not decisively, their ELO will drop, and that ELO will get traded to Contingency after the game. Here's a decent example here. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. So if we take a look at some games from last season to kind of show how some of this went. We'll take this game here. That's a terrible example. That was a forfeit. So we'll do Legion versus Phoenix. right? In this game, Legion's rating was 1273, and Phoenix's rating was 1238. The score as it went was Legion got 69% of the total rounds that were played, while Phoenix got 31. Because their ratings are pretty similar, it was expected 52-48. But that didn't happen. It was 31-69. So Legion did better than they were expected to. So they pulled 48 ELO points from Phoenix. That also translates into the bonus. Phoenix did not perform as well as they should, so they got a much smaller bonus. Legion performed better than they were supposed to, so they got a much larger bonus. A lot of this stuff is a little complex. It is all kind of based on math. If any of you guys are good at math and you find an error in it, let me know. I can tell you that it was developed with people who do know math, and that is not me. I did not build the system, but I know a lot of people who do, and they helped the league build this. So if you do have some specific questions about it, reach out. I'm not going to do anybody's math homework. We do have the formulas posted, so if you want to know how many rounds you need to get X amount, all that kind of stuff, all that stuff is posted. I'll answer questions, and league management will answer questions about specifics, but we probably won't provide specific numbers just because there's a lot of teams, there's a whole lot of math. It's just not something that we're going to have time to do. Conferences and divisions is a relatively new thing. What I will do is I will draw you a picture, because some of this stuff is not decided yet for this season, but I wanted to make sure that you guys got the information of how it was going to work beforehand. So I don't have a very good diagram to give you. So my bad, but this is just what you're going to have to deal with. So basically there's going to be 3 conferences, right? So we're going to have gold, we're going to have silver, and we're going to have bronze. You guys are involved in the qualifiers right now, which will dictate whether you make it into silver or bronze. So let me just make it easy, like this. I was hoping to prep for this a little more, but I didn't get to. Within these 2 divisions of gold and silver, or within these 2 conferences of gold and silver, there's 2 divisions, right? And we have gold A, and gold B. I did not call them gold 1 and gold 2 because then people think that 1 is better than 2. A is not better than B, they're just separate. Same thing here. Silver A and silver B. Again, one is not better than the other, they're just separated. Bronze will not have any divisions. Everybody will just be on bronze. We're going to have 8 teams per division. So we're going to have team 1 through 4 here, because we'll have 4 teams per division. 2, 3, and 4. All right. And then we'll have the same here. Team 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right. And so on. All right. So let's just make it easy here, because I don't feel like doing this again. How about that? Bam. Never saw it. And then we'll have Team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? It doesn't really matter how many there are there. The reason for these conferences is because of scheduling. What we want to do is we want to make sure that the schedule is as fair as possible. It's not really fair to mix everybody together and have Gold Team 1 play Bronze Team 1, and then have Team 2 play Silver Team. We want to make sure that we have good games. Gold within gold is going to make a good game. Silver within silver is going to make a good game. Bronze within bronze is going to make a good game. So what that's going to do is we're going to have 12 games, regular season games during the season. So what that's going to do is we're going to have Gold A and Silver A are going to play the teams within their own division for 2 times. 2 times within the season, Team 1 will play 2, 3, and 4. That equals 6 games. Then 1 time during the season, Team 1 will play everyone from Division B. So they'll play 5, 6, 7, and 8 1 time apiece. And then, and the same thing will happen here in silver. It's identical. And then twice a season, gold will play a silver team. And obviously vice versa, right? And that will happen twice per season. That will be a random matchup. So that is going to give silver an opportunity to see what the gold competition looks like. And it's going to make sure that gold is really able to handily win the games that they're supposed to. And it's kind of just fun to see what some of those matchups look like. But it's only twice per season, so it really is more just something to keep things interesting. Bronze will play 12 games throughout their own conference here at random. So this will just be random matchups of, if it's 10 of these 10 teams, if it's 8 of these 8 teams. There's no division system for it. We don't really have anybody in here, so okay. So that's kind of how conferences and divisions work. Really, all that is for leading up to playoffs. Also, so we'll bring this back here for just a second. At the end of those 12 games, 7 teams are going to make it to the playoffs on each conference. So because we have 8 here, what we're going to have is that the last team will not make it to the playoffs. The team that is at the bottom of the leaderboard of gold will not make it to the playoffs. And Team 7 is going to play a wild card game with, well, I won't say Team 7. The team in the 7th spot, the team in the 7th spot will play the team in the number 1 silver spot to make it to the gold playoffs. So I'll say that again because I probably confused a bunch of people by saying it the way I did. The 7th ranked team will play the 1st ranked team for the last playoff spot in gold. And in silver, there will be 7 teams left. If the number 1 team doesn't make it to the top spot, the last team will be out of the playoffs. We'll be posting some more stuff about playoffs the closer we get to it anyway. It's like 14 weeks from now. So it'll make more sense when I kind of post it on paper versus kind of going over it in this thing. The last 2 parts are actually the last part here is the challenges. So the challenge system is a kind of a system to make it so that way people can play more than one game per week sometimes. Sometimes you want that rematch. Sometimes you want to play a team that you don't get to play often. For whatever reason, you can go and you can call a challenge. And you'll be able to have 2 challenges per season. So it's 12 games, 12 weeks. You can use 1 challenge a week, and you will only have 2. Gold teams cannot challenge silver teams. Gold teams can only challenge gold teams. Silver teams may challenge gold teams and silver teams. And bronze teams may only challenge bronze teams. So again, that'll be written up in the season 2 official rules, which are in draft right now. But that's essentially how that's going to work. Again, to keep things fair. We don't, want the gold teams challenging the silver teams, trying to pad their league score. The interesting thing about challenges, though, is they are on a separate spot on the list. What we got here? Where's the? What did I do with the season 1 end? So they are in a separate spot. They don't go against your normal match record, and they do not net you the flat amount of points for winning. The only thing you get for winning a challenge is the bonus points. I'll say that again. The flat win points are not awarded, only the bonus points. And why that's good is that allows kind of the less strong teams to get some more points if they think that they can challenge and do better than they're supposed to against a higher team. I think that's pretty much it. We already talked about playoffs a little bit. They are single elimination, so that's really the only thing. I mean, it's pretty standard playoff stuff. This is what the playoffs looked like last season. This will stay up here probably until the season starts, and then I'll take this down. 7 teams. The team in the number 1 spot gets a first round bye. They do not have to play. All the other teams play the first round. They are obviously split by gold and silver. Bronze will not have a playoff.